Thank you and welcome all to this prestigious first Dr. Asmita Gupte oration. Respected Chief Guest Padma Vibhushan Dr. Ragunath Mashelkar sir, our own luminaries on the dais, Dr. Sanjay Gupte sir, Dr. Asmita Gupte madam, Dr. Naurange sir who is there from USA, he is there with us today, Dr. Bhutkar sir and Dr. Sanjay Patil sir who is there on the dais. It is my greatest pleasure and proud privilege to welcome you all and announce this first IMA Pune Dr. Asmita Gupte oration started in my presidentship, and I am elated to say that myself along with Naurange sir were instrumental for this, because thanks to Naurange sir who drafted this, and thanks to Sanjay Gupta sir who within just 2 months of time of my proposal to him, he accepted it immediately within 2 months, saying that तुझ्या presidentship मध्ये एक चांगली सुरुवात करूया. Thank you sir for that. And I feel most proud and privileged to introduce both Asmita Gupte madam and Gupte sir, to both I look up to as my mentors, guides and gurus, because I have been observing them, I have been taking lessons from them since about 30 years when I was doing my MD. Madam, both are eminent star obstetricians and gynecologists of Pune city with more than 40 years of practice. Madam Gupte madam has got MBBS as well as MD Obs Gynae from BJ Medical College with top rank and was awarded a gold medal in both the examinations. She of course has worked after that for 10 years as an associate professor and again for 10 years as an honorary professor. And during those years, she has given many of her skill, of her surgery time, of her me time to the poorest patients of Sassoon General Hospitals. She was an excellent surgeon, and even all the surgery department and seniors used to come and watch her surgeries. And I know about her since that time as an excellent surgeon, gynec surgeon, and especially in infertility for retuboplasty. She was expert in that. She of course taught all the many students, and we were one of them. And she has achieved all this in spite of being inflicted with polio. Even now she is working full time, more than 10 hours a day at Gupte Hospital, and that's a real feat for all of us to remember, and it's a guiding force for us. Sanjay Gupte sir is not only an astute clinician, but is also a great human being. With an academic career par excellence, he has always lived by the principle of patients first. He has been a president of Foxy, ex-president of Dipsy, and also held several positions in other societies. He is of course invited to many societies as guest of honor, speaker for many orations. He is also trained as a lawyer and is a pioneer of medico-legal movement from the gynecologist perspective, and is instrumental in inception of the national medico-legal conferences now we await for and we eagerly attend them. His recent interest and achievements, as you have all just now seen, are the field of genomics and microbiome studies. And he has opened a state-of-art genomic research center, which has Sanger sequencing and next generation state-of-art molecular scientist lab. Since October 2015, they have started their next project, the namesake Asmita Movement. And the motto of this project is Our Daughter, Our Pride. And they have helped, as they have just now seen in the video, they have helped more than 3,000 underprivileged girls to rehabilitate themselves. And this project is specially for underprivileged families with girls. And that is the best part of it, because girl families are not up to date, and they are really neglecting the girls if there are only girl families. And I really would like to round of applause for all this work which we are doing under Asmita Movement, sir. It's really a moment of pride for all of us, for all of the girl community over here, that you are doing so much for underprivileged girls. Of course, with Project Udan, sanitary pad vending machines, and all those problems which the girls face in the schools, and they are tackling it one after another. That's really great. So I can just quote, the difference between the dreamers and the achievers is often the possession of one single quality, and that is the persistence. And that quality is persistently seen in Gupte, Dr. Mrs. Gupte madam and Gupte sir. And the only certain means of success is to render more and better service than what is expected of you, no matter what your task may be. And that is the motto of Gupta Hospital and the Green Array Solutions also now, because they are now jumping into this second field of knowledge and science. And I hope all the best for them. And thank you, sir, for all what you have done for IMA Pune and also to me personally. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Deshpande. Now I request Dr. Sanjay Gupta, sir, to introduce our chief guest, Dr. Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Ragunath Mashelkar, sir.
Dignitaries on the dais and friends, it's really an historic day, and we are privileged today to have a legend amongst us in the name of Dr. Ragunath Mashelkar, sir. It's my absolute honor to say a few words about him, though I know that every one of you, knows his work. He personifies science and technology with a human face, if one is to describe him in one sentence. He's not only a brilliant scientist, but an accomplished author. He has written many books, but the book that we all should actually read and think about is the Reinventing India. It's a fantastic book, and that really inspires you when you read that book. He's an inspiring speaker that you will come to know soon, which many of us already know. A visionary leader, and above all, a very fine human being. Every time, every one of us who has met him, he has a knack of making them very comfortable. That's the unique facet of his mannerism or life. You can't realize that this person is such a great person when he is talking to you. It's ultimate, fantastic, absolutely. He is the very embodiment of three qualities that he implores our youth to imbibe, and that is innovation, passion, and compassion. Yeah. He has been a compulsive dreamer and a positive thinker, and to describe him in his own words, a dangerous optimist who lives by India first. And how that is so, I will explain to you a little later. But first, let me brief you regarding his legendary achievements. I can only be brief because, if I am to mention even few details of his astonishing achievements, I will be taking all the time of his oration. In 1998, he was elected a Fellow of Royal Society, only the third engineering scientist to receive this top honor from Royal Society in 350 years. In 1998, he also received J.R.D. Tata Corporate Leadership Award, an exclusive honor reserved for Indian corporate. He also pioneered, and this is very important, what he calls Gandhian engineering. What again is called as more from less for more. MLM. Right? That's the tagline is fantastic tagline, catering to the needs of the poor. He single-handedly fought and revoked the wrong US patents on turmeric and basmati rice based on India's traditional knowledge. We don't realize the importance of it. If this would have continued, we would have had to not only pay for turmeric and basmati to Americans, but every traditional knowledge they would have patented, and we would have been in big trouble. So it's a revolutionary thing that actually he brought about. He also pioneered the trend of reverse transfer of technology from India to Europe and USA by licensing patent based on the modern knowledge from Indian laboratories to MNCs in US. So that was one of his dreams, and he achieved that. Sir, who is today one of India's most distinguished national research professors, is equally respected by industry, academia, and government. He is an independent director on boards of India's leading companies from Tata's to Reliance Group. And just imagine this, he has been awarded doctorate degrees by 45 different universities in the whole world. 45, just imagine that. People struggle to get one doctorate in their lifetime, it's like ultimate. The government's trust in him shows through the 12 high-powered Mashelkar committees, which were completely under his leadership, and dealt with a lot of contentious issues in the past and present. His leadership of Council of Scientific and Industrial Research for over many years led to the transformation of this world's largest chain of laboratories. This is heralded as one of the top 10 achievements of Indian science and technology in the 20th century. No wonder he has received honors ranging from Padma Bhushan to Padma Vibhushan at the hands of presidents, and the star of star of Asia at the hands of George Bush Sr., President of USA. Now let me explain to you about his being eternally optimistic. And I can do that only by quoting his own words. And I quote, when he was delivering, the quote will start a little later, he was delivering the presidential address of the Indian Science Congress in January 2000 in Pune itself, in the presence of then Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh and hundreds of other eminent scientists. He portrayed some really impossible sounding crazy dreams, at that time, 2000 we are talking about India and of the 21st century. And he finished his talk with these final words, and I'll quote. Now, it's in his words. You might say these are crazy dreams. Can a country which has so many deprived, so many people below the poverty line, so many illiterates, really do it? What gives me the confidence that it can happen? This confidence come to me because of the images of a little boy who in the late 50s studied under the street lights and went barefoot to school until he was 12 years old. A little boy who struggled to have 2 meals a day. A little boy who was about to give up his studies in 1960 after his matriculation in spite of securing a position in the top 30 in the Maharashtra State SSC board because his poor widowed mother could not support his education. This boy was helped by this gracious Indian society, and later on in his life, loved and encouraged by this great city of Pune. He is giving today this address as the President of Indian Science Congress at the dawn of the new millennium in the august presence of our Prime Minister. This was his quotation. If this miracle can happen to an Indian, given an opportunity, it can happen to every Indian, and most certainly it can happen to my India in the coming millennium. That's what he said. The next century will be the century of the mind, and India will have the legitimate right to lead. The next century will belong to India, which will become a unique intellectual and economic power to reckon with, recapturing all its glory which it has had in the millennia gone by. And I believe this will happen as this dawn of the new millennium turns into a morning, and what a glorious morning that would be for my India. The quote completes. Today we know that his dream was not at all crazy, as it might have sounded in year 2000 when he spoke. India being looked at now, at that time it was becoming looked at as third world country in the year 2000. Within last 20 years, that same third world country is being looked at as the country that will potentially be the third most powerful country in the world, and that too within the foreseeable future. He was asked then in an interview, if God were to grant him just one wish, what would it be? And you know what he replied? He said he was ready to forego rest of his life on earth if God will allow him one day on earth, again in 2050, to see for himself his dream coming true, India as a leading advanced nation. That is this dreamer scientist. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me immense pleasure and pride to present Padma Vibhushan, Dr. Professor Ragunath Mashelkar sir, to you. Thank you, sir.
I was telling him that this was the best introduction I've had in my life. Thank you very much. This is an overwhelming experience, overwhelming moment for me. First of all, thank you for doing me the honor of giving the first Dr. Asmita Gupte oration. You know, there is always something about the first. First is always first, second is not first. So thank you very much for this honor. The second, you heard about a gold medalist with a golden heart. What she has been able to do, and I think the nation should be thankful to you for the great Asmita movement that you have started. I think it's a unique pair, both of you, absolutely incredible achievements. But when we talked about innovation, compassion and passion, I think Dr. Sanjay Gupte and Dr. Asmita Gupte are personification of that quality. There is innovation, there is a deep compassion, and there is a deep passion. Empathy, I think, is something that the world needs more than ever before. And the empathetic contributions that you have made are incredible, including for those little girls, whether it is their education, whether it is their menstrual health, and so on and so forth. So thank you for being what you are, and thank you for having done what you have done for our society and for the nation. I'm going to talk about reinventing healthcare, and I'm doing the daring of talking about healthcare in the presence of all of you. I think that requires some special courage. But let me give you, sorry, just one second. Yeah. Let me make an honest admission to start with. The first admission is that I'm not an expert in healthcare, and I'm talking to the experts in healthcare. In fact, each one of you in IMA, Pune, know more than me. That's the first. The second is, I do know something about innovation. I claim that. Okay? So what I'm going to do is to talk about the role of innovation in reinventing healthcare. As simple as that. So that I'm on a safe ground. If you ask me anything about healthcare, I won't know. But if you ask me about innovation, I'll be able to answer. That's the first. The other is, I'm drawing from my experience. I had headed CSIR, as you know, Council of Scientific Industry Research, for 11.5 years. And we had laboratories like Central Drug Research Institute and so many others who dealt with research and innovation. So I learned something while leading that. Also, there have been a number of Mashelkar committees, 16 as was mentioned. In fact, there was a saying in the government, somebody told me, that when in difficulty, form a Mashelkar committee. So I have chaired all sorts of committees, starting in 1998 when the regional engineering colleges were converted into new, the National Institutes of Technology. And incidentally, the 16th one is the Maharashtra government's NEP 2020, its implementation. As you saw, the Chief Minister has formed a committee for its implementation now. So I've been there, but dealing with health and public health also, there have been some committees. My first experience was 1998, when looking at research and development in pharma industry, see what was happening was that we are great in copying molecules, but not in creating new molecules. All right? Anyone will develop a new molecule anywhere, within 18 months we'll be able to copy it. Nothing bad about it, because the patent regime at that time, until 1/1/2005, did not accept product patents, only process patents. So it was completely legitimate. And it was because of this that we have become the pharmacy of the world. Generic drugs, for example, we would not have done it. And we are supplying them to the whole world today. That happened. But then there was this desire that we must do something where we also start developing our new molecules. Too long that we take credit first in India. Sometimes we have to say first in the world. That was this first committee. And we created a fund of 150 crore, at that time, 1998, by the way, which will be close to 1,000 crore now, where such research would be funded by Department of Science and Technology. That was my first experience. The second, in 2003, there was this committee on spurious drugs, basically, and also overhauling the drug regulatory system. And people keep on referring to the 2003 Mashelkar committee even now. There's a interesting joke, Raju. You know, when we gave the Priyadarshini International Awards about, I think it was a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago, Ghulam Nabi Azad was the chief guest, and he was the health minister. And when he started speaking, he said, we remember Dr. Mashelkar every day in our ministry. Then Kumar Mangalam Birla was sitting next to me because he was getting the industry award. He said, why do they love you so much? I said, they don't love me because each day people go to them and say, implement 2003 Mashelkar committee report. So the issue was that we had talked about overhauling the entire regulatory system, making it as good as FDA, for example. But then I will not get into what actually stopped their implementing the whole report, but it still gets referred to, by the way. So that was that. Spurious drugs, no issue, because we had made the penalties strict, severe, and sure. All three, strict, severe, and sure. That has got basically implemented. Then 2003, this issue of biosimilars was coming. I remember chairing that particular committee. Kiran Muzumdar Shaw was a member of that committee, and that made a lot of change in terms of making it easy for us. Then, of course, what has happened? Slideshow. Yeah. Then there was this issue of reforming the Huffkin Institute, which I chaired. That was an interesting experience, government of Maharashtra. Then international bodies, you know, international commissions of UK government, WHO, they were great learning experience for me. This Ruth Dreyfus, the former president of Switzerland, was the chairperson, I was the vice chair. And this WHO Commission on Intellectual Property Rights, Innovation and Public Health actually was looking at a very, very important issue. That is making drugs, therapeutics, vaccines available and affordable for the whole world. And I remember going to Brazil, South Africa, China, all sorts of countries in sort of scanning the entire landscape and seeing what we could do. And that was great learning for me. Then there was this public health, innovation, intellectual property rights report that came up. Also, UK government had created a commission on integrating intellectual property rights development policy, commission on intellectual property rights, and these were the 5 commissioners. That report also looked at very deeply with regard to how patents were coming in the way of getting drugs accessible to the poorest of the poor, and what could be done for that. You know, compulsory licensing and differential pricing and a whole range of other sort of recommendations that came from that. So I give this just to illustrate my background. So I'm doctor, but not a medical doctor. All right, I have looked at the field from a distance. So let me start from this week itself. You have seen this H.K. Firudia Awards on Science and Technology. You know, for 25 years I have been a jury of this, and we had never given awards to, let us say, Asmita Guptes of this world, in a sense that the women scientists. So this year, we said we must make up for it. And the three ladies that you see there, one, I call them actually Saraswati, Lakshmi and Durga. I'll explain why. You see the Lakshmi there, this is Kiran Mazumdar Shaw. She started with 10,000 rupees in a garage. And I remember I was on the TDSCI Venture Capital board. That was the first venture capital company. And we supported her. And also Pramod Chaudhary, by the way, who did very well. It was important to bet on these young people at that time. And that same lady with 10,000 rupees at that time, her market capitalization today is 5,000 crore, from 10,000 rupees to 5,000 crore. And she employs 15,000 people and has done us proud, as you can see. Then you have Gagandeep Khan on her left. And she is the one who became the first fellow of Royal Society, a woman scientist in 360 years. You know, and it's amazing it took that long to recognize sort of a lady. But very importantly, she is also known as vaccine woman of India. Rotavirus vaccine, she was the one who led the development. So she combines excellence and relevance in an incredible way. And on the other side, next to Arun Firodia, you see Matthew Thomas. She is actually missile woman of the country. She is also called Agni Putri, by the way, because all Agni missiles, 1, 2, 3, 4, she is the one who led. So what a spectacular dais it was on that day with these three ladies. Now the important talk was given by all three of them, wonderful, but Kiran Mazumdar Shaw talked about something which is very important for all of us, and that is affordable innovation. In fact, she talked about the role of affordable innovation so that you can have accessibility for the poorest of the poor, and what she has been able to do, for example, in oral insulin and so on and so forth, by reducing the price, so as to say. So this role of affordable innovation, I like to call it as an Indian innovation. There is something peculiar about India, all right? आपण जे मराठीत स्वस्त आणि मस्त म्हणतो ना, it is like that. Affordable is swasta, but excellence is mast, very high quality. All right. If you ask me what is one competence which will take India far, it is our ability to create affordable excellence. 10x, 10 times better, 10 times cheaper. If you have made it 10 times better, it can be for the whole world, because excellence is what everybody wants. And affordability is, of course, not just the poor, even the rich want it, by the way. All right? So that is what it is all about. So my lecture is about this more specifically. What we need to do, I will define innovation for you. Technology innovation, all of us know. That's not a problem at all. But there is business model innovation. Like, for example, Ola or Uber or Airbnb, etc. They are business model innovations which have changed the game. Then there is system delivery innovation, and I will explain to you what it is. There is a workflow innovation. There is a process innovation. In, for example, in the healthcare area, this open source, for example, or reverse pharmacology becomes very, very important. What is reverse pharmacology? Because I'm not going to talk about reverse pharmacology, but this is something I've championed for a long time. I had talked about Golden Triangle. You know, when Nanaji Deshmukh had invited me to Chitrakoot, I had talked about this Golden Triangle of bringing traditional medicine, and modern science together. Modern medicine and modern science have always gone together. We were talking about gene therapy. The structure of gene would not have been known if DNA structure was not known. And DNA structure would not have been known if X-ray diffraction was not there. So modern science actually led to gene therapy finally. So modern science and modern medicine, they always combine. But if you look at traditional medicine and modern medicine, the Vaidyas and the doctors, they fought with each other. They didn't talk to each other. And it's the same thing. Something works, but why it works, the deep science of it, we never sort of worried about it. So that was my big effort in CSR. I'm not going to talk about it, so I'm explaining it right here. And I call it reverse pharmacology because normally, in normal drug delivery, you create a molecule, then put it into mice, and then into men. In reverse pharmacology, people, while working in laboratories of life, by empirical evidence, they have already used it. So it starts with men. Then it is tested in mice for regulatory toxicology. And then from there, you reverse the process to develop sort of a drug. It's a much faster process. And we have shown that, like in Ayurveda, there is this Trikuta, which always has black pepper. So we asked why, and then there was piperine. And my laboratory in Aral, Jammu, which I converted into Indian Institute of Integrative Medicine, because I'm a great believer in integration, actually they found that it has a bioenhancing effect. It makes the drug availability higher, all right? So what does it do? That means you reduce the toxicity because you are taking less drug, you reduce the cost. And we looked at it for tuberculosis, and there was this Risorin which came out, which Cadila manufactures as a matter of fact, which is a combination of these two, but we have to go through the entire rigor, so as to say, all right? So that is reverse pharmacology, but I'm explaining that because I'm not going to talk about it. It is going to be on the other things. Then the next one is organizational innovation, and most important is policy innovation. As you've seen during COVID, how important is policy. We kept on doing the flip-flop, if you remember, states will buy it and then central will buy it and so on and so forth. All that matters. Policy is extremely important. In fact, Gagandeep Khan spoke exclusively about policy. You can have all the technologies in the world, but if policy is not right, then you suffer. So I'm going to take you through this. Now, I'm very proud, most of the time, you talked about my positivism. If there is a half glass full, half glass empty, I always look at the full part of it. We can write big essays on how India failed in this, that, and the other, etc. You will always hear something positive about it. Now, this is what I had talked about. During COVID-19 pandemic, I was invited to Atlanta to speak about Indian science and technology, and I just gave a talk on how India handled COVID-19, what kind of innovation sort of it did. So what were the slides I used? I want to show you that. Our first challenge was limited availability of quality test kits, if you remember. India finds itself at the back for virus test kits. State-run labs were operating at only 36%, 2020 I'm talking about. Private labs manage just average 8 tests a day. And the priorities are going to be countries where there is a major outbreak, like Italy and Spain. International vendors are saying, I'm not sure how much I can allot for India. It's an insult, by the way. But we have that, right? Now, then, April 12, 2020, several targets missed, still no sign of rapid testing kits. April 16, India, several other nations received faulty coronavirus tests from China, and states advised not to use rapid testing kits. This was April 21, 2020. From there, actually you can see from Pune, I'm very proud, this my lab, this development started work in January as soon as WHO released the genome sequence. 28th March launched first made in India kit, tested 1.2 million people in 3 months, 3x reduction in price, 95% components sourced locally, and on 25 July launched first made in India antigen testing kit, right here in Pune, by the way. And I'm very happy to see the women scientists sort of driving it. That's what we could do. Similarly, Institute of Genomics and Integrative Biology, for example, it created India's new paper COVID-19 test, leveraged the CRISPR-Cas9. We are talking about CRISPR-Cas9 upstairs, as you know, biology, and paper strip chemistry, identified single base pair difference, sensitivity 98% plus, and this was the kind of cost. So important part is when we talk about 2020 as the year of pandemic, I talk about 2020 as year of Indian science. The way we rose and sort of delivered was incredible. Just look at these smart young people, like they had this mobile app screens patients based on cough sounds and Salsit It used audiometric technology to detect respiratory illness via cup sounds, and they identified asymptomatic cases based on cup sound signatures very quickly. So these startups that we talked about, they also rose. That's very important. I'm very happy to see this. And then we got the headlines finally in May, concerted innovative effort how India ramped up its COVID-19 testing capacity. That is the journey that we had. Look at the challenge too, how to screen the higher risk candidates first in a given population, how to identify future hotspots before they reach the target. And look at Dharavi. Is social distancing possible in Dharavi? It is not possible, isn't it? And then what did we do? The Los Angeles Times said, while coronavirus spread in the US, an Indian slum with 1 million residents contained it. And they said, can we learn something from Dharavi? We should be proud. This never gets talked about, by the way. And how did we do it? For example, testing, tracing, and isolation. All right, Dharavi Miracle. There's a book that is being sort of written or is already published. And World Bank praised efforts to arrest spread in Mumbai's Dharavi. But there was a partnership, as you can see, from all across, from companies, from software companies and whole range of things. And I'm very happy to see this Cure.ai as a startup, as a matter of fact. They used artificial intelligence to do the detection just at $2. And therefore, this COVID-19 bus conducted mass screening equipped with Cure.ai and other testing facility, because you're dealing with very large numbers, basically. And the decision criteria, X-ray report, fever, and oxygen saturation levels. And the intervention was hospitalization and quarantine. And I'm very happy that this Cure.ai, it went global. Many of you may not know, it became, Italy partnered with them, then NHS partnered with them, then in UK they had partnership, Oman deploys Cure solution, etc. Some of these, our people must know how our young people in their mid-20s have been able to do all that. And we should all feel sort of proud. Then the third was limited ICU beds and skilled caregivers, basically. And there were interesting sort of newspaper articles. For example, Los Angeles. The situation here is dire. Every minute, 10 people test positive for COVID-19. Every 8 minutes, someone dies. Ambulances circle for hours, unable to find emergency rooms that can accept patients. Hospitals are running out of oxygen. ICU capacity is at 0. Patients lie in the hallways. If you had read this, without my telling you that it was Los Angeles, you would have thought that it is some third world country. But in Los Angeles, this was happening. And it happened, of course, in India, as we all know. People were dying in ambulances. So what do you do? And this is where, again, our young people, Mudit, Dandavate, and Gaurav, they came out. I will tell you later about Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award. And they came out with a solution where a normal bed could be converted into stand-up ICU, by the way. And how did it work? This is what is called as DOSI. It's a continuous contactless vital remote monitoring capability. You push it under the bed. And it absorbs micro aberrations produced by heart, respiration, and body movements and converts it into biomarkers. And the interesting thing is that it could convert any bed into a step-down ICU in less than 2 minutes, 20 times cheaper than products used in ICU, no maintenance, consumables, etc. And you can do the sort of remote monitoring, and 6,600 beds have been upgraded during that time in 323 hospitals. And you can see the clear benefit that as far as nurse, for example, is concerned, the number of patients she will be able to look at would be minimal, all right, and you can actually expand that capacity sort of enormously. And also the remote monitoring has its help. It is very interesting that Nitin and I were coming together, and I got a call from Udit because he was here in Pune yesterday, okay? And I asked him, what is the latest I'm going to speak about you? So he sent me something which I will read out to you as we were driving. He said, I said, what is the latest? He said, we are present in over 350 hospitals, 8,500 beds. So 6,600 beds to 8,500. That is the latest as of 1 hour ago or 1.5 hours ago. But there is something interesting. He says, present in over 350 hospitals across India, and in hospitals like Harkishan Das, Narottam Das, Reliance, Apollo, IGMC, Ramaya, etc., etc. He gives a long list. And he talked about something that fascinated me, and I thought I will read out to you what he has sent. He talked about use case in cancer. You know how? In hematology, patients are at high risk of being neutropenia. Continuous monitoring is important, but they are immune compromised. Hence, manual monitoring at high frequency is risky. And today, TOSI is helping many leading cancer hospitals monitor their patients continuously and improve patient safety. DOSI's world's first non-contact blood pressure is changing the patient pathways, making it possible to do trend-based analysis of patients' vitals with no wires attached with clinical grade precision. DOSI is backed by CDC UK now, upgrade public health care in India, Africa, Bangladesh. They have ordered 5,000 devices, by the way. 150 plus public hospitals, 6,000 plus public hospital beds. I think why I'm mentioning this is that many times when India does such a development, basically you say, oh, it's a demonstration, where is the scale, what impact it has made. You can quite clearly see what difference it is actually making. One should be very proud of this. Then there was this challenge of low-cost, high-performance ventilators under Indian conditions. What are the Indian conditions? Power breakdowns and the rest of it, all right? And I remember this Marico Innovation Foundation created this grand challenge, 2.5 crore, and I chaired that particular committee, and people came out. India needed not just innovation, but extremely affordable innovation, like I call, that can work under Indian conditions, because there is no compressed medical air, frequent power cuts, limited trained technical staff. Under these conditions, you have to create, all right, that the Americans will not be able to do, Europeans will not be able to do. I sometimes feel, Dr. Gupte, that scarcity and aspiration is a deadly combination. You know, when your stomach is full, you can't run, but you have to be a little bit hungry, all right? Then you innovate, then you create. And this was a brilliant example of our people coming out with these sorts of devices, including from IIT, from our KPIT, Ravi Pandit coming out, etc. Important point is that give a challenge and India rises. Give a challenge and India rises. This was brilliant. Then sixth challenge was, of course, exponential rise in PPE's demand. As you can see, 50,000 PPE kits were imported every year, mainly from China. And just see that from transition from importing to exporting country within that short possible time that we had. I'll leave the slides with you. All right, the entire presentation I'll leave for all of you. So don't worry about taking photographs, okay? Right. Now, that was, and I exported 2.3 million kits in July 2020. So in March we were starved, in July we were exporting. Again, we should be proud. Look at challenge 7, no vaccines. And of course, India is a global leader in vaccines, as you know. And we had, of course, in our Pune itself, Serum Institute, we are extremely proud what they have done, and world's largest manufacturer, exporting to 140 countries. And actually, the Bloomberg Business Week said the world's best hope for enough COVID-19 vaccine comes from India. But I'm very proud to say that our own Krishna Ella, Bharat Biotech, they created Covaxin, and today we talk about 200 crore COVID jabs, etc. It was all our own sort of capacity. And that's why I keep on telling politicians this was possible. Bharat Biotech could do it because that base was created soon after independence for creating these laboratories, etc. Without that base, these vaccines would not have just come. So we must be humble and recognize what we have built, and we are getting sort of the benefits of that. And therefore, continuous investment in R&D is very important. In 1998, our investment in science and technology, R&D, was 0.68% GDP. 1998. In 2022, it is 0.68% GDP. All right? We must push it up. The other countries like China, 2.4%. But they are 5 times richer than us. So therefore it is 15 times more. We can't simply say China is running ahead. We need to sort of do that. That's very important. So again, coming back to total innovation, let's focus on technology innovation. I will take you through all these, on how each component of this becomes sort of important. Now in technology innovation, we require technology innovation. What does that mean? Making high technology work for rich, very easy. No problem. Making low technology work for poor, very easy. Making high technology work for poor, very difficult. Right? That is what innovation is. How do you make high technology work for the poor? So innovation is all about affordable excellence. Now you would say these are contradictory in terms. What is excellent can't be affordable, what is affordable can't be excellent. India has proved the word wrong. And I will show it to you. I created in my mother's name Anjani Mashelkar Inclusive Innovation Award, and this is powered by affordable excellence. What this does, I'll tell you, these are the award winners, 2011 to 2021, and each of them has done affordable excellence. Each of them has made high technology work for the poor. And there is something else. People always talk about following best practice. I don't believe in best practice because you are following somebody's. I want us to create next practice, which becomes best practice for others. All of them have created next practice. Now I'll just give you an example. For example, this non-COVID category, Senthil Murugasen, he was there in Pune yesterday. What did he do? Pregnant women. You know, he created an IoT-based maternal healthcare solution that monitors mother's health using smart wearables that collect various physiological signals. 1,000 days care for mother and child for 1,000, so it is 1 rupee per day. Already covering 200 plus villages and benefited 2,000 plus pregnant women. And there is an average increase in weight of newborns. In fact, he tells me an interesting story where in a village, a baby was born with the highest weight ever. And they called him and they felicitated him, by the way. What a sort of place it was. There is also, by the way, I think Nitin is there, no? We were talking about product design. Nitin, where are you? Yeah. So here is an interesting case of product design, because initially he had developed something which looked like a nice sort of ornament, all right? And rather than the women using it, the husband started using it. So he changed it in such a way, म्हणजे ती बांगडीसारखं दिसलं पाहिजे, म्हणजे बांगड्या घालत नाहीत. Product design, by the way. So this was a very interesting experience. Look at this Vinay Kumar from Anupat, who got the award. 8 test results within 60 seconds, no special storage condition required, and it biosenses for diabetes, kidney failure, anemia, and malnutrition, and ultra low cost, 80% sort of cheaper. And I must acknowledge here Tata Trust, because when going forward, how do these innovations get supported? Our venture capital is vulture capital, because they look for immediate profits. Commercial banks, the interest are there. So you require soft money, soft guy, all right? And Tata Trust gave that, and as you can see, the kind of deployment that made it possible. Look at Dr. Naveen Khanna for dengue day 1 test, ICGB. What did he do? He created something which detects dengue in 15 minutes and detects all 4 DNA serotypes. The test kit today is a market leader, 75% market share, 10 million dengue tests have been sold. It costs around 4 times less. Diagnosis of both primary and secondary infection, and he received Padma Shri last year for this sort of work. But here is an interesting story. Talent, technology, and trust. We don't have trust in what we develop. So here is an interesting story. He had developed this. It was US FDA cleared. He had got US certificates, all certificates. But we will not buy it. What we were doing? We were importing. From where? South Korea, Australia, and US. Then came the pandemic. All test kits were vanishing. So as usual, we went begging for importing. 2 countries said we can't in short time. South Korea said we will. As luck would have it, they loaded the kits on the wrong ship which went to Africa. So India did not have any test kits at all. Then reluctantly, they went to Dr. Khanna. Okay? His market share was 0%. Today it is 75%. If the ship had come, so sometimes I wonder, I want to emphasize this. Have a trust, have a confidence in our young people. There's a very nice R.K. Lakshman cartoon, by the way. There's an eye doctor, and he's examining the eye, and he says, "Sir, there is a particle in your eye. Should I take it out because it's a foreign particle?" I think we have to change that. We have to change that. It still exists. Number. Then this Mir Shah eye breast exam device, for example. You know, it's just $1. It's a low-cost tactile sensor that measures tissue stiffness difference in real time. Ultra-portable, accurate, minimal training, wireless, and cloud connected. Okay? And, of course, US FDA certified and CE certificate and so on and so forth. And this is benefiting the whole world now, as you can see. Kiran Mazumdar Shah has invested in this, and you can see that he's moving to 25 countries. Partnership, of course, with GE Healthcare, and over 500 million women is what they're targeting. They're nowhere their target, by the way, but it doesn't matter. All right, there are some 20 million women that they have been able to connect, but it doesn't matter. Can you imagine a non-invasive, user-friendly, high-tech, accurate, certified sort of test can actually do that? Then this Rahul Rastogi for Sanket ECG device. So, as I said, best practice to next practice. If you want to take ECG, what is the practice? You will go lie down, 12 leads, and the rest of it. Next practice is not that. It's a device which you can move around your sort of chest, basically. So this is how the device looks like. You have it, you put your 2 thumbs on it for 15 seconds. Then there is a sensor at one end. This is your heart. 15 second, 15 second, 15 second. And below the heart, 15 second, 15 second, 15 second. All right? And if you have downloaded an app called Sanket, it goes to you. All right? Now, this one, for example, this is what is Sanket 1.0 was. And it's a portable credit card size. And this is how Sanket 2.0 is. And he is now in 8 countries, having sold something like 25 lakh of devices. Made in India for the world. That's what our Prime Minister talks about. And he has been able to do that. This is Levomavli, for example, for AxioTet. You know, around 40% of road accident deaths result from bleeding. And there are 1.5 lakh road accidents. What he has developed is something that is a miracle. Completely stop bleeding in just over 2 minutes. Normal gauze takes 13 minutes, and it utilizes the unique biomaterial chitosan, you know, now in sponge form. It is present now in 40 plus countries, by the way. It's not just a story of something having been developed. So our young people, these are all in their late 20s and early 30s, by the way, doing this. It's incredible. And this Mishkin Ingawale for Touch HB, you know, best practice to next practice. If you want to detect hemoglobin, invasive with needles, non-invasive, no needles, 150 rupees to 10 rupees. And what he has done is use high technology. That is very important. Photoplethysmography, spectrophotometry, advanced software, photon scattering. And he has displaced his own technology now. This is very important, by the way. How? You don't have to put something around your finger. You just look into the camera. And this captures the picture of conjunctiva and uses the method of reflectance photometry to estimate the hemoglobin content. Now just think about our villages. And more than million sort of patients have benefited from this, by the way. It is not just a story. Now just imagine our villages. Somebody doesn't have to go and take the blood. There's no issue about that. You don't have to wait for hours. You don't have to pay. All that you have to do is to look into camera. All right? And this is going places now. These are the kind of breakthroughs our young people are able to make. I feel very excited. That's what makes me dangerously optimistic, by the way, about India. All right? So total innovation, the next story is, of course, workflow innovation. How do you distribute the work? You know, like McDonald's, assembly line approach and so on and so forth. And you know the classical case of Arvind Eye Care, for example, where you can see cataract surgeries which cost $1,000 plus, he does it in $40. The cost of lens has been reduced. The results are better than, in fact, I was seeking for that table, but I couldn't get it. Today morning I was looking at it. There is a Royal College of Ophthalmic Surgeons and Arvind Eye Care. And this is in C.K. Prahallad's book, by the way. There are 7 parameters, by the way, post-surgery. In all 7 parameters, Arvind Eye Care beats Royal College of Ophthalmic Surgeons. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by 10x. 10 times better, 10 times cheaper. Affordable excellence. Okay? So that is workflow. And of course, I will not go through the performance, but they have done sort of remarkably well. And of course, you know the Narayan healthcare open heart surgery, how once again the sort of workflow innovation has been done there, and you can see the kind of reduction in the costs, etc. So once again, when you talk about innovation, it is not just technological innovation. It's the way you distribute the work, for example, that can create. Then in the total innovation, the other thing is process innovation. And I already talked about reverse pharmacology, you know, not molecule to mice to men, but the reverse. In the same way, there is this open source. I'm very proud Dr. Samir Brahmachari of CSR developed it. So what was that? This was an open source drug discovery. Okay? I remember when I was a member of the WHO Commission on Intellectual Property Rights, how to bring down the cost of drug? By bringing down the drug development cost. And I remember saying, you know, if there is open source software, why can't we have open source drug discovery? So that was put as an idea, but none of us knew how to do it. And Samir Brahmachari actually did it. So this was a CSR project on paradigm shift, Science 2.0 collaborative research based on web-based partnerships, and collaborative system level annotation using Web 2.0 technologies, and connectivity on the National Knowledge Network and semantic web portal. That's what he developed. Amazing. 130 countries and 8,000 participants. All right? Something unheard of. Out of that 8,000, Dr. Gupte, 40% were students. Can you imagine the students getting involved in drug development? Drug discovery, not development, drug discovery? That actually happened. And if you see in the next chart, see the partners that they had all across the world. Of course, our own laboratories, you can see NCLI, CT, NCBS, NIST, etc., etc. But also the others, IITs, but also the partners from around the world. That was something that was created. In fact, it led actually to a discovery of a novel combination regimen, namely this compound that you see, PA824, moxifloxacin, and then pyrazidamide, and for MDR TB patients. So promise of simple, shorter, and more effective regimen and effective against both replicating and hypoxic MTB, and seen to have sterilizing activity in human pulmonary TB, and this is under clinical trials now. 130 countries, 8,000 scientists, all right, 40% of them students coming out with something like this. Very proud to say that this was India's contribution, and this has come for recognition sort of all over the world. I will not go through that. In fact, he was also nominated for a top international prize. He couldn't make it finally. Bob Langer, about whom I talked about, no, from MIT, he won that. He did not win, but the recognition was fantastic. Similarly, I want to say that with the digital world coming up, the artificial intelligence is going to play a big role. Like this British AI startup, Benevolent AI, identified this baricitinib, that is a drug developed by Eli Lilly for treatment of rheumatoid arthritis as potentially effective COVID-19 drug. And this treatment was approved by US in just 9 months. I think the main point I'm trying to make is that just as Web 2.0, Web 3.0 made it possible to get people around the world to do this, the way the digital technology is moving, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and so on and so forth, is going to create sort of new breakthroughs. After the pandemic, of course, we have a new world. It has been sort of devastating. But like I was saying, pandemic has done bad as well as good. And what is the good it has done? UCNC, actually COVID-19 illness documented December 1, SARS-CoV-2 virus sequence on January 10, and within less than a year, you could have this mRNA vaccine, and with potential impact on several other, diseases. Potential, not tried as yet. But COVID forced us to do that, because we could not wait for 10 years. All of us would have gone. We needed something to be urgent. So it also shows that the human spirit and the technology and the policies and global partnerships, how a miracle is possible. I sometimes feel, I remember this supercomputer. I was a member of Science Advisory Council to Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi's time. And Rajiv Gandhi asked us, what are we good at? We are a poor country, but what are we good at? And Rudham Nasiwa was sitting next to me, said, we are good at this. So what do we do with it? And that is where this parallel architecture-based supercomputer idea came. And Dr. Vijay Bhatkar was given $10 million in 3 years. And he delivered it within $10 million in 3 years, because normally things are never delivered on time and money. But he delivered that. And that is a history. And later on, as he developed Param 10,000, I remember the Cray started coming and saying, now we'll offer. This is denial-driven innovation, okay? And there was a Washington Post headline, Angry India does it. I'm saying, why is India not angry every day? For the right reasons. We are angry for the wrong reasons, basically. It's the same way. Now that the COVID challenge came, sort of, we all gathered together, basically, and did it. Can we do it sort of all the time? That's an issue. Now, you can see the COVID, unprecedented speed, scale, and scope. Science as a savior, as I said, mRNA vaccine. Use of telemedicine growing 38x, February 22, 2021. Microsoft 2 years digital transformation in 2 months. Coursera, an online learning platform, registered over 650% usage. And e-commerce, as you know, 10 years growth in just 3 months. So the main point is, digital, which was hovering around the periphery, came to the core. And it has changed the world. Like the physical meeting we have today. We would not have had if we did not have COVID. Would we have a meeting like this? No. All right. Now it is not digital, it is not physical, it is phygital. The word is going to be phygital in time to come. So it has changed the world. But when it comes to total innovation, if you look at the system delivery innovation, what do you see? You see that telemedicine arrives in UK in 10 years of change in 1 week is what was the headline. But that is happening there. What is happening in India? Sorry. Telemedicine booms in India. You know, making city-level health facilities accessible to people in remote, hilly and tribal areas. And in March 2022, India made an important landmark in its digital health journey by completing 170,000 telecalculations in a day, basically. So it is not that part of the world. I want to assure you that things are happening here. There is this prediction, extending care beyond hospital walls is a top priority for healthcare leaders now. Beyond walls, by the way. You don't have to be in the hospital. So expanding out of hospital care could improve outcomes, they say. 40% of hospitals. This is, by the way, those of you who are interested, I have given the reference so that you can go through that and see what it is. 40% of hospitals are expected to have shifted 20% of their beds to the patient's home, all right? And 60% of patients find virtual care more convenient than in-person care, and 80% of patients are willing to seek care for minor illnesses at retail clinics. That is the big change that is taking place. Again, we can't say, oh, that is happening here. It will not happen here, sorry. All right, you'll be surprised. It will happen here faster than. Today, for example, in digital payments, we are number 1. 3 times higher than China, by the way, and the rest, basically. Okay, so things are happening at an incredible sort of rate. And that is where the doses of this word come, because that dosy innovation, as you can see, particularly what is important, and this is what it all measures, 98.4% accuracy according to benchmarking studies against ECG, polysomnography and 2D Doppler echo. So you are getting something which is very accurate, and this can be sort of measured. Decentralized care delivery enabled by digital is actually obvious. You can see with cloud-based ERP and gamification and you know, the rest of the technology that you see, including big data analytics, will improve access, quality care, better information, better patient outcomes, increase patient engagement, and so on and so forth. So I think if you look at the current perceptions about the current systems, are that they are population-based, one-off doctor's office, doctor-ordered data, doctor's notes and which are unshared, information owned by doctors and hospitals, expensive and big ticket tick. That is going to change. The population base will move to individualized, personalized, one-off to real-time streaming and real-world, doctor-ordered data to patient-generated data, doctor's notes and unshared to our notes and patient-edited, information owned by doctors and hospitals to information owned by rightful owner, expensive to cheap chips and Moore's law, the cost will come down, and data limited to panoramic. These changes are on the anvil. Last point now I'd like to make, and it is here. This is an artificial foot, $12,000. Now this is one of the big challenges. I, by the way, saw in Indian medical associations, one of the presentation was on the deaf. They have a problem, and therefore cochlear implants, and there was a study. I can tell you, Queen Elizabeth Prize of Engineering, which is considered as a Nobel Prize in Engineering, £1 million. I've been on the jury, okay? And we give award to Internet, World Wide Web, GPS, etc., which are game-changing. Cochlear implant had come, did not get the award. Why? Excellence, but not affordable. Just deep dive into it, and you will find it is not affordable. So until it is made affordable, basically it will not benefit the people. That is the issue, really. And that's what India should be working on. So this 12,000 feet reminds me of the expensive cochlear implant, relatively expensive for our population, and even there, because there is a surgery that is involved, there is aftercare, etc. There is a process that is involved, which is not easy, that requires sort of specialists. But then we have this $28 foot, and became Time headline. This was the Jaipur foot, and you can see why it became the headline. This is what the Jaipur foot does. I'm ending my talk with this because this is the biggest lesson that we in India need to learn. This young man who has lost his leg below the knee, just see the way he's moving. See the flexibility, see the way he jumps. All right? And now what he does is something very interesting. He wears that, and watch this carefully. He runs. And he can run a kilometer in 4 minutes, 30 seconds, as you saw. How many of you can run a kilometer in 4 minutes, 30 seconds? Arey, at least one hand, come on. Come on, at least one hand. 1, 2. All right. So let us say 3 out of 150. Right? That means less than 2%. What it means is that this fellow who has lost his leg can beat 147 of you. Why? Because it is affordable excellence. It is affordable, it is $28, but it is excellent because he can do 1 kilometer in 4 minutes, 30 seconds. That's India. So that is the main point. And I would like to, so that's why you will see why I keep on talking about innovation, innovation, innovation. I remember I got the J.R.D. Tata Corporate Leadership Award, which itself was an innovation because the scientist has never got it, ever. But I was the first scientist to get it. And this is in my Reinventing India. Today I have talked about reinventing healthcare, but Reinventing India that you talked about, there I have given that extract. And I have said, finally, 1999 should be the year where we should launch a powerful national innovation movement to propel us into the next millennium. The I in India should not stand for imitation and innovation, it must stand for innovation. The I in IIT must stand for innovation, the I in industry, the I in CSR must stand for innovation, the I in every individual Indian must stand for innovation. And then I had ended by saying it is only this innovative India that will signal to the rest of the world that we are not a hesitant nation, unsure of our place in the new global order, but a confident one that is raring to go and be a leader in the Committee of Nations. That's what it was. And therefore, I'm very happy to end with this slide. You know what is this? You can see here our Prime Minister, the incoming President at that time, outgoing President Pranabji, the Vice President Professor Anil Gupta, and myself. I was President of Indian National National Innovation Foundation for 18 years, and he was the Vice President. And we are releasing a book. And you know what is this book? On innovation. What is the basic principle? Everyone is someone. Everyone is someone. Everyone can innovate. Minds on the margin are not marginal minds. Get the point? And that book actually shows heroic stories. And what is most important is that Pranab Mukherjee, the outgoing president, had many choices of what his last function should be. And he chose to release this book on innovation as his last function. So that gives me the confidence that we are there and we are going to go. And we are going to find a rightful place in the Committee of Nations, which is right up there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you. And this is a summary of my talk.
Thank you, sir. Sir, you said, don't limit your challenges, challenge your limits and change your minds. Sir, your each and every sentence was inspirational to us, and we must dream future India as you dreamed in 2000. Sir, thanks for your inspirational thoughts and motivational activities. Since so many years, you are doing all these inspirational activities. The best way to predict the future is to create it. It is by Abraham Lincoln. So now I request Dr. Avinash Budkar sir, our Chairman Press Board, to say a few words.
After hearing sir's oration, it is really impossible for any other person to talk. And for the first time in our lives, most of you must not have heard his lecture anywhere. Am I right? This is for the first time IMA, and that too in their own premises, has got a chance to listen to him. And it was like a what one can say, a school child attending a postgraduate lecture, you know. Because though it was, as sir initially said, that it is innovation in healthcare, the innovations that he was talking about are entirely different topics. I mean, we never used to get to read about these in newspapers, and I don't know whether there are journals or anything of this, but that we never subscribe to and never get a chance to read. So many things he was telling, you know, you feel, Arey, this is happening in India? Arey, such young scientists are doing it? And really, I mean, it was overwhelming for us. Personally, I mean, it was like an innovation for me. And in India, the first time I heard this apt description of India as an innovation. And really, we'll be proud if we get such chances in our future, and maybe our younger generations take part in doing all these things. I'm really, really, sir, thankful for your oration, and I'm really thankful to Dr. Sanjay Gupta and Asmita Gupta for arranging such an oration. Initially, I was thinking that, I mean, it will be a routine medical lecture, like what are the new instruments available, what are the surgical procedures, what. These things were sort of going. So, thank you, sir. And maybe, if possible, Dr. Meenakshi, we can share this lecture online recording. It will take at least. So, MMC has made it compulsory to have 6 points attendance. But apart from that, make it a point, because you see, ultimately, as sir has already said, what is I? So I feel that I, as a member of this particular IMA Pune, what I can do to uplift the morals of all our members, that you should try. Just like our own practices, the hazards that we are facing and all that, we need to come together, decide on various things, and maybe come out with newer ideas which can help us practice in a better way. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Budkar sir.
Just
Yes,
wanted
sir.
to
Yes,
add
sir.
one line. So what I'm going to do is send this presentation to Dr. Sanjay Gupta, and he will share it with all of you, or maybe all 5,000 members. But there is one last slide I'm adding, which is not there. The I in IMA must stand for innovation.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Now I request Dr. Sanjay Patil sir to come here to give address.
Good afternoon, respected dais and dignitaries in the audience and my colleagues. My job is to read the citation. Revered Padma Vibhushan Dr. Ragunath Anand Mashelkar sir, we feel privileged to present to you, sir, this citation in honor of your invaluable contribution to India's science, technology, innovation and intellectual property rights. Sir, you have many firsts to your credit. You were the first Indian to win twice Lenovo Science Prize and to be elected as a Fellow of US Academy of Sciences, the first non-British president of UK Institution of Chemical Engineers. Some of your achievements can be described as a once in a century. You were only the third Indian engineer to be elected as a Fellow of Royal Society of UK since 1660, and just the seventh Indian scientist to be elected as a Foreign Fellow of US National Academy of Science since 1863. You have been a visiting professor at several international universities. You served at Sir Louis Matheson Distinguished Professor at Monash University for a record number of 15 years. Sir, you contributed not only to science but also to world history, not by studying it but by making it. You drafted the historic Pretoria Declaration on Global Knowledge Pool for Global Good. Even as you served the vast international academic landscape, you are firmly rooted in your beloved motherland. You have served India by fulfilling huge responsibilities as a chancellor of several universities, director of NCL, director general of CSIR, chairman of National Innovation Foundation, and president of Indian National Science Academy. As a director general of CSIR, you transformed CSIR into user-friendly, performance-driven, and accountable organization, a feat held as one of the top 10 achievements of Indian science and technology in a century by none other than Jayant Narlikar in his book Scientific Age. You chaired 16 high-powered committees, popularly known as Mashelkar committees, which guided the country on diverse issues like national auto fuel policy, drug regulatory system, and reforms in higher education. Sir, if research is your mission, innovation is your passion. You chaired innovation councils of many Indian companies like Reliance, Persistent System, and KPIT Technologies. Business India included your name in the list of 50 pathbreakers of post-independent Indians in 1997. The very next year, you became the first ever scientist to be honored with the JRD Tata Leadership Award. Sir, the expert academician in you is accompanied by an earnest activist. As an intellectual property rights activist, you triumphantly challenged the US patent for turmeric and basmati rice. Sir, you personify science and technology with a human face. You have always supported social causes by chairing the CSR committees of several industries. As a chairman of Tata Affirmative Action Program and a president of Swarup Vardhini, you have initiated many endeavors to empower the underprivileged. You founded Anjani Mashelkar Foundation, named after your mother, to give inclusive innovation awards for encouraging the use of high technology for the poor. You are one of the most deserving recipient of record number of honorary doctorate from as many as 45 universities around the world. You have been honored with the 3 prestigious civilian awards of India, Padma Shri, Padma Bhushan, Padma Vibhushan. Sir, your initials RAM, Ram, symbolize the spiritual scientific synthesis and ethical intellectual equilibrium that you embody. While the Indian Ram is an idol of ethics, the Western Ram is a random access memory, a sign of high intellect. We are deeply grateful to you, sir, for honoring our invitation to deliver this first ever IMA Pune Dr. Asmita Gupte oration. This oration is written by Dr. Mandar Paranspe, who is our esteemed member, life member of IMA Pune. And this oration is signed by Dr. Sanjay Gupte, Dr. Asmita Gupte, Dr. Meenakshi Deshpande, and Dr. Jayant Naurangi.
Thank you. Now, yes, we'll be felicitating, sir. Yes, yes.
एक सेकंड हे सगळ्यांनी लक्ष इकडे धन्यवाद
Now we'll felicitate Dr. Sanjay Gupte sir and Dr. Asmita Gupte from on behalf of IMA Pune.
It has indeed been a proud moment today for IMA Pune, and we are inspired with words of Padma Vibhushan Dr. Ragunath Mashelkar sir. I was just, while Sir Gupta sir was introducing him, I was going through Wikipedia, and the number of associations and the work that he's done is enormous. It is indeed inspiring for all of us, especially youngsters, to take up this idea of innovation. And it's been an inspiration journey, what we can see, coming from a small town probably of Marshall from Goa. What sir has achieved, it's really inspiring. Thank you for guiding us well, and you have opened new corridors and new ways for us to see at world with a different perspective. Thank you, sir. We also thank Dr. Asmita Gupte and Dr. Sanjay Gupte, sir. The work that they have done and the way they started on a small scale and have taken up Gupte Hospital is really inspiring. Thank you for being associated with IMA for this oration. I'm sure the association will go strong over years, and we'll be seeing more and more renowned personalities like Mashelkar sir in future. I'm sure Dr. Gupte sir is also proud to have Aarti as a proud daughter, and Dr. Sarjan Shah, who is leading with his Green Array Lab. And incidentally, we are classmates, and we are proud that we have our teachers Mender Madam, Wag Madam, Damle Sir, and it's been a mini get together for us. Thank you for this opportunity, sir, from Gupta Hospital. We also have with us Dr. Suhas Pingre, sir, President IMA Maharashtra State, and sir has graced this occasion. Thank you, sir. We also have with us Dr. Rajiv Veravdekar, sir, from Symbiosis, and a lot of eminent consultants, dignitaries, gynecologists from city of Pune. We also have with us IMA trustees, past presidents of IMA, office bearers, managing committee members, and the close to 350 delegates who are watching this program in person or online. And least not to mention the supporting staff of IMA, who has been instrumental in making this program come true. Mr. Miraskar, our photography team, pharma sponsors, Green Area Labs, and caterer Vaishnavi for making this program possible. And I would end this note with that it's an eye-opening program today that we have been guided by Mashelkar sir, and thank you for that.